Hi guys, and welcome back to
The Result Show.
The Result Show. And you join us for the third episode in Selling Magically Express. If you haven't had a chance to catch up on the first two, then go and give them a look, because what they're doing is they're building sequentially. And so basically the whole thing which we're talking about here is how you use trust and emotion and rapport to basically massively increase the amount of people who decide to choose you. And this is so important when you are selling an intangible.
Yep.
Yeah. If you got a box, if you're selling something like this, your personality doesn't necessarily matter too much. But if you've got somebody that you're doing a breakthrough session with, your personality is key. Yeah, it's literally make or break.
And I think, so we've got trust, we've got rapport, we've got liking, we've got unique buying points.
Yes.
So even with all of that lined up, what could stop somebody from buying?
Yes.
And, in actual fact, there are only 4 objections.
Yeah.
There'll be an objection, something about money. I can't afford it. I don't have the money. Something about time. I don't have the time, or it's the wrong time.
Yep.
I don't believe you, as in I don't believe that you can actually offer what you're saying. Trust, rapport, and liking dramatically reduce the possibility of that coming up. Then there's the 4th one, which is I do believe you, and I'm special. It won't work for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're the objections to be pre-armed with, ways of actually dealing with those. Though what I like to do is actually use what I call objection inoculators.
Yes.
Which is basically how do we pre-frame out an objection before it comes up. And this is one that I've modeled off of Tony Robbins. Because, he's got 10,000 people on a UPW. He wants to sell Date with Destiny or Business Mastery, or in fact, Mastery University, which is all of those programs. And that's going to be a high ticket sell. It's going to be like 10, 15,000 pounds.
Oh, at least, yeah.
At least. And he's got 10,000 people there. He's got people in the back. And what he needs to do, though, is those people won't have time to deal with people's objections.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he wants people to go to the back of the room and just buy. Yeah. Just put their card down. So how does he do it? Comes into values again. So how many people here are committed to their own personal development and personal growth and development? Which, of course, say I.
Yes. Not say yes, say I.
Yes. Obviously, everybody's going to say that. So now we've got some Cialdini social proof and consistency
and commitment
consistency coming in as well. So and then he does this. You see, that's why I like working with people like us. People who are committed to their own personal growth and development. You see, people like us would never say, I don't have the money, or it's too expensive, because people like us know that making an investment in our own personal growth and development is the best investment you'll ever make.
Yes.
That's why I love working with people like us who are committed to their own personal growth and development. People like us would never say, I don't have the time or the wrong time, because people like us know now is the right time. We'd never say something like, I don't believe you, because we know that ultimately we're getting our own results. So if we say, I don't believe you, really what we're saying is, I don't believe it myself. And people like us committed to our own personal growth and development would never say something like that. Also, because we know we get our own results, we'd never say it won't work for me, because again, what we're saying is, I can't make it work for myself. That's why I love working with people like us committed to their own personal growth and development. Now, let's talk about Date with Destiny.
Yes.
And people shoot off to the back of the room.
It's such a powerful, and again, this is the thing, because when we're talking about objections, we're not waiting for them. What we want to do is we want to pre-handle them. You can think of it like a craftsman who's making something with a piece of wood. What he'll do is he'll run his finger down the line, and basically he's looking for any burrs or any inconsistencies or anything that sticks up or is like a splinter. And that's exactly the same thing. It's like, if you're designing, like a customer journey to purchase. Well, let's use that phrase rather than sales and marketing. Then what we want to do is make sure that A, the ramp isn't too steep, and B, there's nothing in the way that is going to basically stop it from happening. So identifying those objections up front then basically means that we can pre-handle them. I kind of do the same thing, because I learned these 4 from you, which have stuck in my mind, and I've told them to so many people, whether it be clients or friends or whatever. But the thing is, if I'm, kind of like building a landing page, I'll actually put, kind of like in the FAQs, the top 4 are, kind of like, do I have the money for this? Do I have? So you're literally putting the questions which they've got and handling it so that they can go, okay, no, well, at least they've thought about that. And here is the answer. Here's like the counter answer to that.
Yeah. Yeah. And, that's particularly important when you're doing one-on-many selling, like selling from the stage. And also, like you mentioned there, landing page.
Yes.
Because you want to get those things out of the way so that they still contact you. And also, if you were doing selling from a video, a pre-recorded video.
Anywhere where it's not a two-way, basically one-on-one conversation.
Yeah, because in those situations, you physically can't deal with everybody's objections, which is why you take them out.
And this is exactly, and this is why, by the way, it's really important that if you are kind of like selling online or doing anything like that, you need to have a really good understanding of your customer. I mean, a lot of people, and they kind of like, they decided they want to start a business, they don't really kind of understand the customer's mindset, and they're a little bit scared of talking to them. And so what they do is they basically go out and build this in the hope that it will, provide a nice safe bubble away from, the actual business of interaction. That very, very rarely works, because until you've actually spent time with the folks that you are trying to, kind of like trying to persuade, trying to help, in a win-win situation, then a lot of what's going on their head is going to be invisible to you. So you don't know what objections are going to hit. But the key thing is, every time you hit an objection, then the question is, right, does what we already do address that? And if not, at what point in the customer's journey so far would I want this to have been addressed? And then basically try to fill it. It's like, you're always allowed to make a mistake once, but try not to make it twice.
Yep. I mean, a great example of this is the therapy business, which I have with James Mallinson, Fix My Mind. Because, we designed that website with all of Cialdini's 6 rules in it.
Yes.
And also dealing with people's objections, etc. And also important, full transparency and full disclosure of the price.
Yes.
Yeah. And still, that website is designed to sell one thing and one thing only. Them getting in contact with us.
Yes.
Yeah. It doesn't sell therapy. Yeah. That's we were talking about Malcolm Gladwell in the last episode. Another great book from Malcolm Gladwell is the book Tipping Point.
Yes.
Yep. So where's the tipping point for prospect to client?
Yeah.
Is a 20-minute telephone call. And, this is an interesting thing with this, is when we put together our therapy business mastery training that James and I put together, which basically is a business in a box. It's how do you have your own successful Fix My Mind practice?
Yeah.
We recorded about 12 consultation calls. And, so James is talking about the problem, how we approach it, how we can enable them to get rid of their problem, etc., etc., etc. And then at the end of the call, he goes, I've asked you a lot of questions. I've been talking a lot. I guess you've got some questions for me. Only one question came up. When can we start?
Yeah.
Because all the other objections are already gone.
And again, the example that you've given of I was grinning like a Cheshire cat when you were talking about it, just in terms of the way in which it's done. Because, you and I have both been at big events, we both run large events, and you know that you can't have that sort of backlog.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, and going back to the F1, it's the pit change. It's literally, and literally it's away in 2 seconds.
Yeah. And then so what we've really done with all of this is we've handled everything on the website. The only thing that we need to establish on the call is the trust.
Yes.
And the liking and the rapport.
One of the other things as well, which is really interesting in terms of what makes the difference between somebody who's okay at closing a deal and somebody who's really good, is their ability to identify people who might be part of the decision-making process who are not necessarily just the person that they're talking to.
Yeah.
So, for instance, and again, we often use a car analogy for this, but I've seen it work in, professional sales organizations whereby, they're saying, right, who else is involved in that process? Who else is going to need to say yes? So, for instance, if let's say that a guy comes along to buy a car, if the person selling them the car is quite good, what they'll do is they'll basically find out who, does he have a partner? Mm-hmm. Is his partner going to be, involved in the vehicle? Are they going to have a say in it? And also, he'll then ask some questions about, what that partner is like and all the rest of it. So, for instance, if you've got, let's say you've got one partner who's really interested in performance and other bits and pieces, the other partner is really interested in safety and economy and ease of stuff.
Right.
Then when he demonstrates the vehicle, he will arm the person who he's talking to then basically sell the vehicle in. So when he then goes back and then talks to his or her other half, and then when they get their questions, it's like, oh yeah, the guy was talking about that. He said da 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 da.
Right. Yeah, and of course, if you've got, like that example, let's say 2 people involved in that decision, then the thing that we talked about last week was how to double your sales by asking 3 more questions.
Yes.
You ask the 3 questions of both people involved. Because, as you say, one bit might be performance, the other might be safety. And, they go home and go like, well, it's got the right kind of performance. And they go like, yeah, but it doesn't have a very good safety record or doesn't have a reliability record.
Yeah.
You've scuppered the deal. Whereas really, you've got to sell individually to both people involved.
And it goes back to what you were talking about in terms of, the only question that came out of the consulting calls on Fix My Mind was, when can we start? And again, for me, that is a beautifully planed finish.
Yeah.
You can run your fingers along it and there's nothing that's going to, stick up or stand out or get in the way.
Yeah. Because, Fix My Mind is price is higher than most therapy businesses. But then, what we did was we did market research, and we went to people who were doing phobias, and said, if you could get rid of your phobia in 1 session, guaranteed, how much would you be willing to spend? and the average came out at £250.
I remember James was talking about this. It was because it wasn't necessarily about the price of that. It was basically where somebody was going, no, I don't want to do that because I'm seeing this guy, and they were like 30 sessions in or something like that. After 30 sessions, we might see some progress.
Yeah.
And it's like the equivalent of saying either you can go to the shop and buy this model for this model of R2D2 for £100, or what you can do is you can buy 30 magazines at £10 each, and slowly and painstakingly over the course of many months build this thing up. And it's like,
that was bizarre, because he'd seen me do a demo where I worked with somebody to get rid of their phobia of flying, and it took me 10-15 minutes. Actually, I think the actual video is on the YouTube channel. And he then comes up to me, this guy comes up to me at the end and says, can you do the same thing for a phobia of public speaking? And I said, yeah. He said, well, I'm confused now. So I said, well, how do you do that? And he said, well, I've got a phobia of public speaking, and I've just started working with a hypnotherapist, and he's told me it's going to take at least 30 sessions before I can begin to feel any benefit.
Yes.
And he said, I've just seen you do it in 10-15 minutes. What have you got to say about that? I said, you're working with the wrong therapist.
Yeah.
Here's my business partner James's business card, give him a call. And he then says, how much does James charge? I think James now is like 300 or something, plus VAT, something like that. And this guy says, well, my hypnotherapist only charges £50 an hour. And I'm going, do the maths, dude.
Yeah, that's 1,500 quid.
1,500 compared to 300 and 30 weeks of your life.
Yeah.
He never called James.
Do you know what it reminds me of? It's, again, this goes back to Cialdini, and I remember that he was talking about when he basically went along to one of these cult recruiting processes. And he basically sat down, these people are kind of like signed up, to the process, and they were sat next to him. And then he basically stood up and he systematically demolished all of the Huian propaganda that they'd used to recruit these people. And then he saw that these guys were leaving. And he said, oh, are you kind of going to go and ask for your money back? And they said, no, we've bought, but we're leaving before you change our minds, because we can feel it happening. And right. So sometime, and again, this is why decision making, it's not just A plus B equals C. It's when we go back to, because a lot of the time, and people quite rightly say that a decision, especially if you're buying something, is based on cost versus benefit. Yeah, it's like, if I pay this much, how much will I get? The thing to remember is there is always an invisible multiplier at the end of it, which is called trust.
Yep.
Yeah. So for instance, if you said to me, mate, I am, not that you would, but if you said to me, mate, I am, I don't have any money. If you lend me a tenner, I'll give you 20 quid back tomorrow. Aside from the fact I'd say, don't be dumb, would I believe you? Of course I would. Because from my point of view, if I was that sort of person, that is the opportunity to double my money without, without any risk, because I trust you implicitly. However, if someone came up on the street and said, oh yeah, if you give me a tenner and then meet me back here at the same time tomorrow, I'll give you £100, even though I should be getting 5 times the reward, the trust in that is poco.
Well, this has reminded me of an event I spoke at. It was the American Board of NLP conference. It was starting on the Friday night. And Tad was meant to be opening it on Friday night.
Yeah.
But 5 minutes before that, Tad comes to me and says, look, the big speaker for tomorrow is cancelled because she's snowed in and she's got a cold. So can you do tonight for me? This was about 5 minutes notice, right? So I'm going like, yeah, okay, I'll do it. And the thing that's reminded me of this, so for my opening, Firstly, the guy who was introducing me, I'd given him the thing and all that, written it out for him and all that kind of stuff. And he comes up to the stage and says, oh, I'm really sorry, but Tad's not going to be. I know you're expected to see Tad, but he's not going to be here. So instead, you've got David Shepherd. That was my intro. So I thought, how am I going to grab him? And I got a $100 bill. So I said, who will give me $50 for this $100? And nobody put their hand up. Finally, some guy goes, yeah, okay. So they see me take $50 and give him $100. So he's doubled his money. Then I went, okay, who'll give me $20 for this $50? And people are looking around. And finally, somebody comes up. They see me take $20 and give this woman $50.
Yeah.
Then I said, he'll give me $10 for this 20. And still, there's like massive resistance in the room. Finally, somebody gives me 10. I give them 20, but they gave me 2 5s. So I just went, who wants $5? You'd think you'd be beaten into a crush. No. So I said, who else wants $5? Yeah. And so still, people are looking around going like, is this for real? Is this true?
Yeah.
It's just too good to be true. There must be a catch. And in the end, I said, look, this is what opportunities are. You saw this gentleman over here double his money just by getting up and coming to the stage. You saw this lady here more than double her money.
Yep.
Just by coming to the stage.
150% increase.
Yep.
Yep.
And you saw this person double their money. Then you saw people get an infinite return. They got $5 for standing up and just going, yes, I'll take that.
Yes.
And I said, the rest of you were there going, I said, there's opportunities like this all the time. But you've got to be prepared to take it.
Yeah.
It was a bizarre experience.
And I think that goes back to what we'll finish on here in terms of the objection is, because there are these 4 objections, and it's like, I do have the time, I do have the money, I think it will work, I think it will work for me, the deal sounds too good to be true. And I think what a lot of people tend to do is if they're slightly panicking about, kind of like selling stuff, they'll either go in there at such a low rate or try to create such a fantastic offer that people go, oh, okay. I'll tell you what it's like. It's like, because if I'm using a system, there's one that said, oh, pay $7 and get lifetime access, and it does all these things. It's like, how are you paying for that? Yeah? If you turn around to me and said, oh, it'll cost you $37 a month ongoing, I would actually be more interested.
Yep.
So do I believe that the system will do what it says? Kind of. But I don't get their business model, and that's why I don't go for it, even though it might be infinitely cheaper than signing up with somebody else. It's because, like, again, this is the emotional decision. It's because, like, unless I get where people are coming from, I'm hesitant to move forward.
Yep.
So that's going to bring us to the end of that episode. On the next one, what we're going to do is we're actually going to show you how to put all of this stuff together into something which we call the customer roadmap. This is basically a template or a formula that you can basically apply. It's ideal for people who are providing a service to someone else. So whether you're a small business and you're basically reaching out to customers, this is basically how we get people all the way through from initial attraction up to sale using a couple of simple systems that you can put into place. So join us for that, and we will see you next time. In the meantime, if you have any questions, it is podcast@theresultshow.com.
And we will see you then.